Hello, everybody. This is Dennis Allen, and you're listening to the Dennis Allen Podcast. A city boy who gave it all up to find happiness, financial freedom, and a better way to live life. Together, we can learn and accomplish anything. Today is February 1st, 2019, and it's our very first episode. On this episode, I'd like to introduce myself, explain how I went from a New York City corporate hotshot, hanging out with celebrities, living the Viva Loca, to growing a beard, quitting my job, selling everything, starting over in central Pennsylvania, PA if you're from here. And what the heck am I up to now? But before I do that, I'd like to thank our very first sponsor, the Inglebean Coffee House in Milheim, PA. You know, honestly, the Inglebean has changed my life. From the long days of drinking coffee there, eating the famous Valley Hash in the front window while I get to know the neighbors and the locals, to fall in love with it and buying it. That's right. I bought it to help build community, and honestly, I think it's working. My job at Inglebean was to open it up to the public, serve the local healthy food that I came out here to eat, and give it an environment that I want to hang out with and spend a lot of time in, because I do. With the help from the community that welcomed me, I think it's working. To help support this podcast in spreading the word of freedom, the Inglebean will give everybody who tells a friend about the podcast a free baked daily homemade Inglebean cookie. Just use the promo code I shared the podcast. So come on in, tell everybody I said hi, and get a free cookie. All right, so got that out of the way. It's just me here sitting in front of a microphone at a computer. I'm at a friend's house. I recently hurt my leg, so I've been not really going to work a lot. So I think that's what had motivated me to get off my butt and start making this podcast. But I would like to thank the Inglebean Coffee House because, like I said, it is what I'm doing now, and it is a big part of my life. I did buy it with kind of my sewer money to build a sewer septic system, but that's a whole nother probably episode. I want to just go over and tell you a couple things about myself, where I came from, how I ended up in the middle of central Pennsylvania, right near Penn State. We are Penn State. I don't know what that means. I didn't go to Penn State. I didn't know Penn State was here really till pretty much just coming out here. State College, that's what Penn State's in. I knew I was near State College. I knew it was a big city, but I didn't know that Penn State was here. I didn't put the two together, but that's the truth. So me, I grew up in Elizabeth, New Jersey. I was born in the early 70s. Poor white kid. Being white was kind of a minority. Mostly Hispanic and black friends, and just from diversity from everywhere. You know, the white kids were Italians that, you know, their parents grew up in Italy or they came here recently from Italy. But my family had been here for a long time. I myself, mostly white. I got a grandmother that's Puerto Rican and a great-grandmother that's Cherokee Indian. So besides that, I'm all white. And I grew up white. I didn't know the Puerto Rican or the native side. That was all on my father's side. So anyway, so we grew up, you know, dirt poor. Had, was a little scrapper. I had to do what I did. You know, I sold lollipops on the bus when I was going to Catholic school, things like that. I guess I was a little misdirected youth, you know. We started a little fight club in like 5th grade. Every Friday after school, we'd meet at a little spot and we'd all fight each other, whoever had problems, or, you know, if nobody had any problems with each other or was scheduled to fight after school today, we'd just normally fight each other and just, you know, see who bled first, and that would determine the winner. It was never anything too harsh. You know, I didn't grow up like some of my friends, in the projects. I spent a lot of time in the projects, and, I would run away from home and go into projects and stay there. But, we were poor, but we weren't that poor. We always had a roof over our heads, and, my mother did what she could to get me what I needed. But I wasn't the best student out there. I didn't get the, I got D's and F's most of my life. Dropped out of high school, kept fighting till after I dropped out of high school. Went to college for a while. I actually got my GED. I believe it was before my friends, or before I would have graduated, or something like that. But I did get a GED. I took a class, not a class, I just took a test and passed it because, whatever, it was easy. I was, smart kid. I was a smart kid. I just didn't pay attention, and, big scattered brain, monkey brain, that person I am. I wasn't built for school, or school wasn't built for me. Let me say that. I did try to buckle down for my mother and do the right thing, and, I think I was working as an auto mechanic for a while. Most of my younger career, I was underneath fixing cars or selling race car parts or doing something crazy with, old muscle cars or something like that. Or just, fixing cars. Worked at Santos Service Center. Thank you, Eddie Santos. And his family, his amazing family. I tried college. I signed up for, whatever I needed, remedial math and English. I would probably, I don't want to say obviously, but that's what I did. I think I took the SATs or whatever I had to take. And I went to a couple classes, and it was very interesting. And, it reminded me of high school. And I wasn't a big fan of high school, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't go. I literally went maybe 4 classes total. There weren't any cute girls in there, so I didn't stick around, or, I just wanted to go make money and do what I had to do. Not saying I was a big motivated hustler or anything at that time. I was, working a 40-hour job, or, 50 hours maybe. And, I started working at junkyards. My first real full-time job was in Newark, New Jersey at Ball Salvage, taking cars apart in the middle of the winter and taking an alternator out. And the cool part about that was we also had the contract to put the engines in police cars, so we did get to drive Newark police cars quite fast around Newark with the lights on. So that was fun. Yeah, so I did, I kept working there. From there, I was going to be a police officer. God, I have a weird life. I was going to be a police officer. One of the customers at the Santos Service Center in Union, New Jersey. He was a big shot lieutenant or whatever in the police department. So he kind of set me up with like the school that'll teach you how to ace the test. And you pay enough money and you know the right people, you can get a kid like myself into being a police officer. So I guess, I don't know, do I want to tell the story real quick? No, that's probably another episode. That'll take a long time. So from there, I was really close to being a police officer, actually. But I think just a quick one. My fighting career actually determined that I was going to be a police officer for that year. But come back tomorrow, kid, and we'll get you in. It was that kind of thing, So it would have happened. But at the same time, my buddy worked for Verizon Wireless, and he for a while was trying to get me to work with him, and he worked in a mall in a retail location. I was like, dude, I'm not working in the mall. I was like, I want a real job. Until I found out how much him and his friends were making as sales reps selling At that time, the Nokia bar phones and the first digital phones and the StarTAC, it was still analog. I remember when the digital StarTAC came out. I was in that wave of cell phones. I was really good. I went in as a temp, and I kind of moved my way up really fast. They put me in New York City right away, actually, even before I got hired. I failed all their tests at Verizon Wireless. They did not want to hire me, even though I was, at that time, one of the best sales reps in the company as a temp. I was, doing the numbers, beating, the sharks in the 34th Street store. And anyway, so they got me in, and I was very successful. I right away got in with the right people, and I started wheeling and dealing cell phones for the celebrities. Anybody in Too Important, or if they got a fancy new Razor or the V60, I forget if it was Star Trek phone, StarTech, I forget what they were called. If you got like one of those like $30,000 Oscar bags, and the cell phone in there, if you were from New York City and you got that and you had Verizon, you had my cell phone number, and I was like, hey, call this kid, he'll take care of you. So with that, every other day somebody famous was calling me, and I was always, fishing for something cool to do. And, there was always some kind of opening party, or, like, hey, Tommy Lee's in town, let's go hang out at Lotus. He rented the entire left side of the club, so we go drink for free and hang out. I was doing that for a while, a lot of drinking. There were drugs, a lot of money. I bought a condo. I fixed it up, made it really bachelor pad-ish, $6,000 sofa and flat screen TVs and, glass countertops. And, I built something really nice, I took my money, and I actually, the reason I ended up in Jersey City at the time was pretty much, looking for investments. I saw the trends in New York City, and I could see that, this is literally right across the water from Lower Manhattan. And we used to go there, like, when we were kids. It was, all crime and everything, and smoke weed on the docks, and, look at New York City during the sunsets and everything. It was beautiful. And I was like, where, I'm working in New York City, and, like, I could get cheap. Where would be a cheap place to buy? I first started looking at the cheapest places in Manhattan, those studios, and, I was looking for something like that. And same money that I could afford, because this was, like, before the financial collapse. They were giving mortgages to anybody. So I took advantage of that, because I'm not trained in any kind of economics, or I don't know how to manage a checkbook even. But I was making a lot of money, and I was able to get a mortgage, because my credit was bad, and I think it's over the 7 years. Kind of maybe forged some documents, a couple things here and there, showing that I paid my bills on time, because I didn't. I moved up the corporate ladder after, I bought that condo, moved up the corporate ladder in Verizon, and none of this made me happy. I'm sitting there hanging out with celebrities. I wouldn't even want to go out with my friends anymore, because, you hang out with celebrity, everything's for free, and hanging out at the hottest spots. And I'd still hang out with my friends and go to Jersey City and hang out there. But New York City was even really not in fun anymore, and the money and the glamour and everything. And I started thinking, nothing's really making me happy. So I was looking for a house to buy. It was years I was looking for different places. I wanted to hopefully get a little garden and start growing some food. And my grandfather in Massachusetts, he was a farmer, and his father was a farmer. So I came from farming background, and growing up in Elizabeth, I had we eventually bought a little house, and we had a little backyard, and we had a little farm, not farm, but a little garden in the backyard. And that's something I wanted. I started slowly looking for better things, maybe eating a little bit better, maybe a pint of vodka before work. It's probably not the best thing to do for your body. So, maybe a little gardening could help. Honestly, the gardening part is what got me into this whole switch of the way I wanted to live. I took a job in Verizon. I was at this time I was a senior manager. I was overseeing 18 stores, 2 zones, both zones in New York City, Upper Manhattan and Lower Manhattan. So I'd go to each store, train the reps on how to sell, like how I used to do it, and train the managers on how to manage, like how I used to do it. It was fun. I pretty much just went from a store, like say maybe in Wall Street, and walk up to the Upper West Side. Most of my day would be commuting and hanging out at bars and hanging out with my friends and making stories. So it was a lot of fun. But that lifestyle got old, and I took a job called early retirement. We kind of called it. It was going into the telesales department. So instead of managing, a store of 35 people, I went from managing a team of, like 12 people that didn't know how to sell. They were just getting out of college. These kids, it was in upstate New York. They were getting out of college with $100,000 loans, begging me to hire them for $30,000. It was really eye-opening, But I didn't really do much there. I had a little office window with a window. I decided to take the later shifts so I could have my daytimes free and do stuff. I was hustling. I had a T-shirt company called Damage Wear. I was selling T-shirts and going through all the craft shows and making something. I wanted to be a big fashion mogul, and with my celebrity connections, I could make anything. I could do anything. And when I was sitting in the call centers, listening to podcasts, and was I listening? Yeah, I was listening to podcasts back then. A lot of YouTube videos, and I was taking, I started taking online courses and doing research on, I was excited about getting a little backyard, and it was getting close, and so I started Googling best way to do gardening, like what kind of garden should I do, is it the spray stuff? Do I put, Miracle Grow? I put Miracle Grow in my cactuses, and they loved it. From there, researching, and I found I found other podcasts. Yeah, I did Dog's podcast. And permaculture. It's pretty much what I'm trying to say. Get it out, Dennis. Is I found permaculture through the gardening. I all my videos I watched and everything I read and listened to on podcasts kind of just sent me to permaculture, and not to get too much into it. It's pretty much a way to design land the way nature does it. So not going against nature, working with nature. How have indigenous people, for thousands of years, how have they done it, Because right now, the way we're doing it is wrong. And so the more I got into permaculture, things like that, it started opening my eyes to a lot of different things. To the food that we eat and the way we live our lives and all that, and I saw how toxic it was. It was a dirty environment, dirty foods we're eating. Everything was, falling apart, in front of my eyes. I'm making all this money. My family's happy. My friends are happy. I don't care what my friends thought. I never did, never do. But yeah, I wasn't really happy. I wasn't, in my mind, the success that I looked like on paper. I was making good money and hanging out with celebrities and all this, and I had property, and man, none of it made me happy. So I was looking. I was dating a girl at the time, and I was helping her quit her job and pursue her own happiness, start her own marketing company. Event planning company called. I got to give you a plug, Marilyn. Oh boy, it'll come back to me. But she quit her job, and I'm sitting there still working. I'm like, what the heck am I doing? So one day I'm literally on lunch break, and I think I did call her up, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to quit my job. You did it. You're happy, and I got to do the same thing. So I literally went to lunch one day and called my boss, like I did a lot of times, and said, you know what? I'm not coming back in. And from that day, I didn't go back to work ever. Probably not the best way to leave a company, but that's how I did it. You know, I kind of shoot from the hip, kind of like, you know, how I got through on life. So quit my job. I had a 2-family at the time. Oh, yeah, so I bought a 2-family. And I started gardening, and I wasn't working. I was Airbnb the downstairs, hustling, doing side jobs. I was a handyman. I was a permaculture designer. I was doing all these kind of things, trying to make money. I had a awesome little backyard. I was living up on in the heights of Jersey City. My backyard overlooked Lower Manhattan, Hudson River, Hoboken. It was nice. It bumped up to about an acre of just like raw woods, city woods, because it was a cliff. It was a very steep cliff. It was about an acre back there, and I ripped the fence down and kind of took it over, and I had chickens back there and ducks and ponds, and we had 6 beehives thanks to Honey in Jersey City. He was an all natural, probably one of the best beekeepers in the country. Honestly, you know, he's got hives all over New Jersey and upstate New York and New York City. And so it was really getting to me, you know, living in the city. I couldn't be surrounded by all the people and all the egos and just all the hustle and bustle. My view was of Lower Manhattan, but it was literally thousands of little cement cages of people. You know, either that's where they have to go to work, or that's where they have to go to play, or that's where they have to go to live. But you have to stay in a little cage all day. And I don't know if the view of that started making me crazy, or just, you know, a little bit of everything, and diving down rabbit holes and learning everything. You know, I eventually just had enough of it, and, you know, I sold the condo, and my plan was going to be, you know, look for some land and slowly build and still have the Airbnb and stay in the city and have a tie between New York City and anywhere outside of the city. I didn't know where I was going. I'd never been to central Pennsylvania before, but I started looking at property. I was like, you know, let me start looking. So honestly, on my first trip out here to Pennsylvania, I was just drew a compass from New York City, and I found these counties where, you know, I wanted to see which ones in Pennsylvania are most free. You know, if it was closer than 3 hours or 4 hours, I would have definitely moved closer. But I found, you know, like Union counties, and a couple of them that were more lackadaisical on their building codes and things like that. But I was up here, I was looking at properties, you know, I had a whole list. You know, at this time I was certified by Jeff Lawton. He's kind of like the big shot of permaculture, and Jack Spirko. He's one of the podcasts I was listening to. It's called the Survival Podcast. It's still out there. You should check it out. I'll be on it soon. With his help and just everything, you know, I hold on. Sorry, I really needed a drink of water. Where was I? This is, again, people, my first podcast. I'm sorry if it sounds weird. I probably sound weird. I'm nervous as heck. But we're doing it, and I'm here in Pennsylvania. So how I got here, looking at properties, I booked a couple listings. I had a list of different things that I needed to run it. A permaculture thing. I wanted to build a permaculture food forest, and I got into a lot of green buildings and earth ships, and so I had all these things on a checklist that I needed. And so the first bunch of places I was looking at, nothing really came close to it. It was some cool places, but none of them didn't have water, or they didn't have south-facing hill or something like that. The homestead that I found on Airbnb at the time was in Woodward, Pennsylvania, the Mountainside Homestead. Dan and Kathy are the hosts. Amazing place. He's homesteading. He quit his job. He was a contractor or something, and now he's growing all his own food. He has chickens, cows, beets, gardens, everything. It's an amazing place. So that's where I stayed as my Airbnb. And on the last day, Kathy actually told me. She said, a friend Brian right down the street, he was going to sell his piece of property that a couple people got married on, and he was going to sell it to them, so he broke it off a section, but that deal fell through, and maybe I'll sell it to you. It's not on the market or anything, but check it out, see if he's interested. If he meets you, he likes you, maybe I'll sell it to you. So it's like, all right, whatever, it's your last day, might as well check it out before you go home. And we took a drive down the street. She called Brian. He's like, hey, have him take a look at it. I don't know. He was literally at the time rustling like these two cows, or I don't know what's going on, but it was crazy. It was violent. The cows are violent, not Brian. I don't think you can be. I guess you could be violent to a cow. Anyway, so we pull in. It's got a little creaky bridge over like running creek. Crick. It's crick. It's not creek. There's a little babbling creek, and I was like, this is the property? I was like, I have my own little bridge? That's so cool. So we go up, and we were going over this beautiful, dirt road and a rocky dirt road, and we pull up to a quarry, huge quarry. Like, what is this? And like, oh, this is the quarry. It was they pretty much just quarried into the hill. So you're driving into a hill, and it's just this huge, big, hole in the hill, and it was full of garbage, and you could see people have been partying and just dumping garbage in there for years. A big fire pit in the middle of the place, and she told me how all the old hippies in the 60s have been, all the hippie communes used to come here and party, and now all the extreme sports kids from Woodward Sports Camp right a couple hills away partying there. So it's got a pretty big history. I was like, wow, this is so cool. She takes me up to the top of the hill where, like, I'm looking and like, wow, this is south facing, and it had so many of the requirements that I'm looking for. I'm like, they tell the story and they say he just like ran up the hill, and kind of like, I don't know, but everything it had, I fell in love with. So worked out with Brian, and I bought it. At the same time, I couldn't believe the real estate market in Jersey City and what they were offering people for property. Another bubble. So I sold everything and I came out here. I was dating somebody at the time, and we kind of did get an apartment right across the street, because the community that we built, that area had just become family, so I wanted to stay there. We spent, a lot of money to rent in that area, because it was going up in price and rent was going up and everything. But my plan was to, slowly come out here and move out here. But again, I shoot from the hip, and my hip told me to just shoot. And so I bought an Airstream, an old 75 Airstream, and year 75, not feet. It's like 25 feet, I think. And I don't know, parked it up on the hill, no running water, no sewer, and kind of just moved my life out here. I bought 3 shipping containers and put them in like a U formation because I was like, oh, I could make a little workshop out of them because my junkyard days stripping cars, we did a lot with that. So I was living out here. I started a YouTube channel called Dennis Allen, City Boy Homesteader, kind of the same thing as this podcast. And the reason why I did it, kind of the same reason why I want to do this podcast. You know, I was watching YouTube videos and I was learning so much, you know, from the people making the YouTube videos, but even more so from the people watching the videos. You know, I would watch somebody like Wrangler Star or, you know, what are they, Pure Living for Life, those guys. They're trying to build a house, or they built a house or a building. They, you know, everything they were doing, like, same like they were doing wrong. And people would comment below, I'm an electrician, you got to do it this way. And he'd be like, oh, yeah, I guess I got to do it that way. And he'd do it. And I was like, wow, look at all this free education. You know, the past 10 years, you know, my education has been online and listening to books and listening to podcasts and talking to people and going to like-minded events and things like that and just learning. That's, you know, I didn't learn in school. I learned through life, you know, the school of hard knocks. I definitely went to that school for my grammar school. And my college years have been, you know, self-learning, self-educating, doing the right thing. You know, starting this podcast is my next part of the journey. You know, the videoing was fun, and I have a lot of fun being on film, that's for sure. I'm a very fun person. But the editing, I hate the editing, and I can't do it. You know, I want to make myself happy, and if I could get somebody else to do the editing, hey, let's do it. I will continue making videos, but till then, you know, can I sit down in front of a microphone every, you know, few days a week and talk and say hi to everybody and learn something and learn from others and have guests on here and make this a learning experience for myself and for you. So that's what I'm doing with this podcast. You know, I'm planning on, oh boy, let me real quick with the quarry that I bought. So that's part of the series of the podcast that I plan on doing, that I am doing now. I want one day of the week to be like maybe Music Mondays, where I talk about music. And because with the quarry, real quick side note, we cleaned it out, built the road going up top. Check out the videos. They're all out there on Dennis Allen City Boy Homesteader on YouTube. But we're making a music venue out of the rock quarry. So that's kind of, I skipped a couple other things. I also bought the Inglebean Coffee Shop. I guess you already know that. With a couple left dollars after, you know, the couple bucks I made on real estate in Jersey City. And just, you know, I was making good money. I saved none of it. But I did buy real estate and made money that way. That's not true. I did save some money too. So with we made a music venue out of an old rock quarry, and I have a bunch of awesome friends in town. Mainly Chris Whitmer. He's going to be doing the podcast with me. I think, I don't know, maybe he won't, maybe he will. But there's a lot of great people. There's Jonas, and there's Matt, and a bunch of other people that have helped out and are continuing to help, and just the whole community. So anyway, we're building this rock quarry called The Quarry, woodwardquarry.com. Check it out. Mondays are going to be something music related. You know, local music, what's going on in music, what's going on with us building the quarry out. It's not always going to be about music, but it's going to be kind of towards that part of my life. I think Fridays are going to be me in front of this microphone, just doing the normal podcast. And then I'm thinking Wednesday, you know, What's Up Wednesdays or something like that. I want to kind of base it around the Inglebean, what we're doing in Inglebean, and more of it's the community oriented part of the podcast. So I'm going to have Morning with Joe or something like that. My buddy Joe Ebling, he is a staple in the coffee shop. It's so much fun every morning. All the guys come in before work. They have their coffee and their sandwiches, and we just sit around and talk and, gossip and talk about not really politics, but local politics. Like, you hear about the town, and they have this and that. These are very small towns, by the way. I moved from, as pretty much Manhattan, in New York City, Jersey City, I live in a town of 100 people right now. I don't know if it's over 100 or it's still 99, but it's about 100 people. The coffee shop is in a town of about almost 1,000. We have a traffic light. Yes, it is the one of 2 traffic lights in the entire valley. We do not have police out here. We have the state troopers, so if something goes on, please don't take our guns away because we don't even have police here. So we have to, it's a great community. I mean, you will not find crime here. Surrounded by Amish, which is amazing. All my amazing Amish friends and neighbors are teaching me how to live a more self-sustaining lifestyle. They're all off-grid, and I'm off-grid too. So that's what the podcast. What else do I have here? I took some notes. I think that's pretty much it. Stay tuned. Like I said, tell your friends about this podcast. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff. Share it with your friends. If you are local, come by to Inglebean. Tell us that you shared the podcast and you get a free cookie. I think I'm putting in a song at the end of this. And this song is from the Shins, and it's called Those to Come. And it was... somebody told me about it when I first moved here. She's from Brooklyn. She's a friend of mine, and she made me listen to it, and it's great. It's that one part, going outside to get some food and clear your mind, and bad things leaving you. It just rips me up inside. It feels, I get emotional. But that song is pretty much, why I came out here. I wanted to get away from it all and leave that ego-driven lifestyle and find a better way, Just live a happy lifestyle. So I think that's going to be it, people. Oh, man, this is amazing. I'm so happy I did this. That's pretty much it. Stay tuned. There's going to be another one soon. I'm going to keep these going on a regular basis. Thank you guys. Thank you all so much for listening. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you all. Peace out. This is Dennis Allen, and I am OUT out. Enjoy the song, people. Love you.
Hello, Elmer here. You shouldn't drink coffee from a gas station. Go on down to Inglebean and get a real cup of coffee.